All right, good morning, people of YouTube. So we are back with the returning menace of BT10 coming into the EX3 format. We have Xross Heart post-ban list. So a lot of people thought this deck was just going to straight up die and not be playable at all. If you were one of those people, I'm here to tell you that that is absolutely not the case. This deck just alters its game plan a little bit. Sure, not having access to the 4x4 and the 4 Sunrise Buster does hurt this deck a lot. However, you can still play this deck as a advantage style rookie rush deck where you float all of your pieces and retain value off of them hitting security. So this is still a very good deck. I'd put it somewhere in tier 2. But it does still have a lot of tools to take the meta by surprise. And if you underestimate this deck going into this format, there is a good chance that you will straight up lose to it. So we'll go ahead and get into some of the card by card, what makes this deck a little bit different than its BT10 counterpart. And if you guys could, make sure you guys like and subscribe because it really helps out the channel. But for the level 2s, we're still only playing the 4 copies of Psychmon. Drawing a card whenever you swing with the Xross Heart is great. For the level 3s, we're going to start off with our combo pieces. We got 4 copies of the Shoutmon, 4 copies of the Sparrowmon. This was a change from my previous list. I was only playing 3 of this card, but now that we have to rely on Cross 5 more, this card is more important. Plus, this is one of the best rookies that you can see as for like swinging at your opponent with, because it will be 5,000 provided you have any other Cross Heart card in play. So Sparrowmon's really good. You got to play 4 of it now. Then we got the 4 copies of the Starmons, and I am still playing 2 copies of Dondokomon. So Dondoko serves the same purpose that it was playing when I played it last set. You want to have a red card in your first couple of turns, so that way you can activate cards like Fireball to draw you into more pieces and things of that nature. Your best turn 1 opening is either hard playing like a Taiki to get yourself some searches, evolving a Dondoko or a Shoutmon in your raising area, casting a Fireball, or like hard playing the Shoutmon or something. But you want to be adding more cards into your hand during your couple turns, or your first couple turns, and having a Dondoko really does help with that. Plus, playing 14 rookies in a rookie rush deck still feels a little bit low. But you always want to be promoting in this deck. You always want to be drawing cards off of the Psychmon swing, and Dondoko helps you accomplish that. So these are the 14 rookies that I am electing to play. And yeah, if you want to cut down on one Dondoko, you could to make room for like more Death Xmon or, any other flex slot that you want to play in the deck. But I think that you want to be filling your rookies in this style of the deck going into EX3. For the champions, we got 4 copies of Darulu and 4 copies of Ballista. That's pretty standard. You got to play 4 copies of all of your Xross Heart components. For the boss monsters of the deck, we got 4 copies of Cross 5. This is your new card that you're beating down with. You will be hard playing this for not its full Digicross some of the times. Like you will be paying like 2 or 4 memory sometimes whenever you're playing this card down, and that's perfectly fine. Paying 4 memory for a 10,000 dude if you have 3 of the 5 Digicross components is still really nice, and you want to be putting more of these into play. So I do really like the Shoutmon Cross 5. It's the main boss monster in the deck, and you got to play 4 of it now. We only got 1 copy of Cross 4. Rip Cross 4, ban list is hard. But this was one of the cards that let you restand your Taiki. So that way you could do the pseudo Cross 4 loop. Now that we don't have access to the Cross 4 loop, having this card to just refill your hand is still really good. Having these 5 cards be cross cards that can get rushed with the Shoutmon under it is still really good. And yeah, it does hurt not having the 4 copies of this, but this deck has adapted. We are playing 1 copy of the King version. So in my last video, I said this card was absolute trash, and I still stand by that statement. However, I'm thinking about upping this card to 2. The reason that I'm thinking about upping this card or even playing it at all is because whenever you do play this card, you get to add a card with the Digi-Cross requirement from your trash back to your hand. So this card can help you recycle your Cross 4. You will never use its King of the Swamp effect to substitute a Digi-Cross component. That pretty much never happens. And sometimes this card can be nice, because you play this card with a Shoutmon under it, and you have a 3-cost body with Rush to help you have an extra Digi-Cross to close out the game. But this is an inferior version of Cross 4, and it's mostly in here to help get the single copy of Cross 4 back. So we are playing the 1 King version. And then the last Digimon in the deck, 1 copy of Xmon. This card is still really good. People have a lot of Tamers, and sometimes this deck needs a way to de-digivolve things at the highest level and put pressure on your opponent's board while you're rushing your opponent down, and this card serves that purpose. I do think this deck needs at least 1, and you're drawing a lot of cards in this list, so you will see it at some point. You could go up to 2 if you wanted, but again, the only other card I think that is cuttable in the list is the one of the copies of Dondoko. And I absolutely don't want to do that because you want to be seeing a rookie every turn. Into the options, 1 copy of Sunrise Buster, because I'm only allowed to play 1. Smoke him if you got him, right? You're still playing the 1, and it's kind of foolish not to. I have 3 copies of Fireball. This is a change. I wanted to make more room for some of the cards that helped add to some of our mid-game consistency, and Fireball is something that helps that. But it's mostly an early game card. This card also serves a purpose for deleting floodgates like Solarmon, Chikurimon, things like that. However, people are playing less of those cards, so this card is a little bit less necessary, but still drawing cards to help you see all of your combo pieces is really good because your combo pieces are how you're winning the game, so drawing into them is essential. The last option I'm playing in the list is 2 copies of Crimson Blaze. And this helps with things like Bloomlord, and anything like Bloomlord. Things like Blue Flare that have a bunch of Digimon in play. Crimson Blaze is a really good card, and it's very useful coming into this meta. And I think it's an easy substitute for a card like Sunrise Buster, even though they do different things. This is still a card that you really want to be including in this list because sometimes you can have a problem with Bloomlord. So, going on into the Tamers, we got a bunch of Xross Heart kids. We got 4 copies of Taiki. We got 4 copies of Akari. These are pretty standard. You were playing 4 of each of these in the old list. The one change is I am now playing 4 copies of Zenjiro. And the reason for this is because you want to flood the board with as many bodies as possible. So having a Tamer that, realistically it's cost 2, right? So because if you have this and you have the Ballista, you play this for 3 and then gain the memory back off the Ballista hitting the board. And that kind of accumulates. So the more Zenjiro you have in play, the more bodies you can put in play, and the more things that you have in play that can swing at your opponent's security. So I do think the 4 Zenjiro is really good in the future for this deck. And it is a change that I would recommend that you all test as well. And then the last 3 Tamers, we got the trifecta of the one-ofs. The one of Tai, the one of Kiriha, and the one of Taikari. Taikari helps you pad your opponent's security for cross 5 swinging in, or just any of your red or yellow Digimon swinging in. You can give your opponent security minus 2,000 for the turn. That's really nice, helping make sure that your body sticks so they can live to swing another turn. Is pretty good. I don't have room for more than this, though. Again, you could cut 1 Dondoko for an extra copy of this if you wanted. I'm just not electing to choose to do that. And then the Tai and Kiriha, having 2 memory tamers in this deck is really nice. Not being memory chokes that you can always put bodies into play is really good. Tai will give your cross 5 more security hits. And Kiriha is really nice because we don't have access to all of the cross 4s being able to unsuspend Taiki like a billion times a turn. So having an extra card that can trigger as a Taiki effect is really useful in a list like this. And you don't really care so much that it's a blue card now because you aren't playing 4 copies of Sunrise Buster. So I do think the one of this is correct. But yeah, that's my EX3 build of Xross Heart. I think this deck is still very good, and if you were putting in a lot of practice with this deck, you like in BT10, you will probably still be able to see results with this deck coming into this format. This deck is just well equipped to deal with a lot of the things, and it actually might be in a better place now because everybody knew that Cross 4 and Sunrise Buster were a problem, so everybody was playing like 4 copies of Solarmon or Chikurimon or like 4 copies of Death X. And now that people have started cutting down on those cards, this deck might have an easier time playing into the metagame. So that's kind of been my analysis on where this deck is. I hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.